Hey guys, Bridge here. In this video, we're going to talk about how to go from graphic designer to UI UX designer. Now, just to give you a brief background, I've been a UI UX designer for almost a decade now, and I worked for over 40 clients ranging from startups to Fortune 500 companies, and I actually started off as a graphic designer, so I think I'm qualified to give you some valuable advice. And let's get started with the very first principle, because there's going to be two elements which I imagine you already know, and we're going to discuss some tips and advice as to how to go after them. And that is that you have to learn the theory of UI UX design as well as practical work. But one of the most important things to make the switch right away, if that's what you're interested in, is to change your portfolio. Now, let me explain. But just before we get started, I want to remind you that I recently launched a free course on how to get started into UI UX design, where I'm basically sharing my experience and what I wanted to know when I first started out in this field, as well as free source files from the design tutorials on my YouTube channel. So feel free to check it out if you're interested in that. But now let's go back to the video. As the portfolio is going to be one of the most important elements for client acquisition, aka finding work, the portfolio that you likely have at the moment is going to have a lot of graphic design work. That is something that you have to change right away. And the reason being is that if you show apples to a client who's interested in bananas, for example, you're not going to have the maximum convert rate. As you understand, there's going to be a mismatch between the supply and demand. And so it's very important not to only show graphic design work and logo designs and those type of works, but also integrate and ideally make your portfolio the majority part of UI UX design work. And this is a mistake which I actually did at the beginning. I used to have a lot of graphic design work in my portfolio, and I was applying for UI UX projects and looking to work on websites and things of that nature, but I had a low conversion rate, and one of the main reasons was that I was showing potential employers work which wasn't in line with what they were looking for. So this would be one of the most important things to change right away. And you might ask, hey, but I don't have any industry experience and I cannot show a portfolio with just UI UX design work because I don't have real life, real client experience. And the way that you do it at the beginning is you do fictional projects. So essentially personal projects which look like the real thing. So what I used to have at the beginning in my portfolio is maybe like a dashboard UI kits or just fake projects. And you can be transparent whenever you're talking with the potential client, like saying, hey, this is not a real project. You can mention it in the portfolio, but it's better to have a fake project which shows your potential in that specific domain than just having work which is not relevant to what your potential employer or client is looking for. So just something to really keep in mind. It doesn't necessarily have to be real projects right away. You can build it up over time as you grow your clientele. Now, on top of that, of course, you're going to have to learn the theory of UI UX design. And my best recommendation is to just sign up for a course. This can be a short course, this can be a bootcamp. If you have a lot of time and also the funds, you can consider going to university. Although, in my personal opinion, it's not 100% required. I've personally been to university and studied graphic design. I managed to get into UI UX design, and I don't think it's a required step, but if you have the time and the funds, by all means consider it. Now, another option which you have is just going the self-taught route, and there's definitely a lot of resources and a lot of free resources out there to learn about UI UX design. But the reason why I recommend a structured course is simply because there's so much you can potentially learn. and it's difficult as someone who is new to the field to understand exactly where to focus your attention on and what is the ideal curriculum and structure that you're going to have to follow. So that's one of the reasons why I recommend the course. But nonetheless, it's definitely something that you can consider doing. Then at the very end, it's all about practice on real life projects. And ideally at the start, as I mentioned, for the portfolio part, you're going to start by just creating projects which are similar to real clients, but they're not going to be for real clients, just to get the hang of especially like UI design and UX principles, and trying to put all of the theory that you learned together into projects. And then essentially you can move on and transition from graphic design to UI UX design. So really hope this video was helpful. If you liked it, please leave a thumbs up. I want to remind you that on my channel I have over 500 videos on UI UX design specifically. So if you're interested in this topic, feel free to check them out, and I'll see you in the next video.